Awesome, I think we're good to go. Perfect. Well, first of all, thank you so much for coming to my session. I hope so far you enjoyed the day. First of all, give a round of applause to yourself because you all are awesome. So, I think that a lot of you, when a lot of war and things happened in Afghanistan, that picture or image of Afghanistan being a war-torn and a war and conflict zone sticked in your mind. And within the 18 years after the fall of Taliban in 2001, this picture hasn't been changed. In my personal experience, when I talk to people and I ask them about Afghanistan, I see a very shocking face, a very scary face of thinking about it's a war zone and nothing is happening there. But today I promise if you walk in from this room, you're going to be happy about learning Afghanistan and what we're doing in Afghanistan, the stories that you've never heard in media, which I'm very upset about that. So hopefully once you walk in, you have a big smile and you will tell that story to other people. So just to get a little bit to know the room and see like who knows how much about Afghanistan. How many of you have a friend from Afghanistan or met a person from Afghanistan, except me today? Awesome. Have you ever had Afghan food? Amazing. For the rest of you, you're missing a big thing in your life. Please, I encourage you, if there's any Afghan restaurant here, please visit. Otherwise, I wish if I stayed more so I could invite all of you and I cook some Afghan food for you. So great. So this is the statue of Buddha. In 6th century AD, Buddhists in Afghanistan created DISA Statue, which withstood and also witnessed a lot of things in Afghanistan. DISA Statue was a sign of unity, compassion, togetherness, and everyone in Afghanistan was embracing this statue. And that's Afghanistan that we were told about the beauty of it. But sadly, in 2001, on March 2001, a very tragic thing happened to this statue. The Taliban bombed this statue. They ruined that symbol of unity, peace, and togetherness. And with that, they ruined the goal and the dreams of a lot of people in Afghanistan. So I think that's like the symbol that a lot of people think about Afghanistan, the ruins, the things, the war that never ends, the country that always is in conflict. So giving you a little bit of a background of myself and the work. So this is a picture of me and my family. That little girl with the short hair and the white outfit is me. Definitely not recognizable, I think, because I have very long hair now. So I was born as a refugee in Iran during the Soviet invasion to Afghanistan. My parents fled the war early 80s. So like a lot of refugees, my parents left everything in Afghanistan. They went to a country which was close to them for finding a safe haven and start life from zero. They only had a suitcase. They kind of knew the language, but it was almost a very new country for them to start the life. I was born in a very little city near the Iran and Afghanistan border, and I grew up in a big family, 8 kids. I'm the 5th one. So I always tell my parents, I'm not the youngest and I'm not the oldest, so I never get the chance to be spoiled or get the attention. As a 5th one, you kind of, like grew up by yourself, independent, no one cares about you, they don't know like what grade you are in the school, so you're kind of like by yourself. And I think that was great for me. Actually, it worked out great because I grew up independent. I learned how to be independent and not really rely on people's attention or support. So being born as a refugee, there's a lot of obstacles and challenges, especially now that we are facing with all this refugee crisis, unfortunately from Syria, still in Afghanistan. I think like people sometimes don't have the understanding of what does that mean to be a refugee. and growing up as a refugee. People think that refugees come to your country because they want to steal the opportunity from you, not that they actually can add value and contribute to your country and diversification and giving you the perspective of the other part of the world. They think you are a burden because now you don't have a good financial situation. The people should help you, the government should help you, so there is no value in you being added in a community. So in my host country, Iran, one of the most challenging problems that I faced was accessing education. We had to, as a refugee, provide certain papers from government to show to school that they could let us to go to school. If we missed that paper, we wouldn't be able to go to school and participate, as one of my siblings missed 1 year of education. So imagine growing up, you're afraid of either I would be able to go to school this year or not. So that was my entire childhood, since I was fortunate enough that I get my high school degree in Iran. Besides the discriminations of being a refugee in a host country, especially with education, there's a lot of financial burdens too. And especially we as a big family, there was a lot not only to feed, but also to support to go to school. But for me, my inspiration was my mom. She grew up in a very wealthy family, but then when she moved to Iran, she didn't have anything. So what she did, she learned how to stitch and make dresses. So by selling those dresses, she bring income to the family. She bought us school supplies, and she invested on the girls' education in the family, sent us to the school. And that's what was always with me. You shouldn't necessarily have everything ready for you to do something. Great things can start with empty hands. And that's what I learned from my mom, and it always stayed with me. So going back to Afghanistan, we moved to Afghanistan in 2002, 1 year after the fall of Taliban. Like every other refugee, we found hope. Now the Taliban left. On the other hand, the US invaded Afghanistan and bombed a couple of cities. But the city that I'm from, Herat, it's in west of Afghanistan, and it's near to Iran border. So it was pretty safe compared to other cities. And we all said, it's the time for us to go and find hope in our own country and do something. So I remember the day that we were moving. We packed everything in a very big truck, and the truck went sooner than us to the destination, and we all tried to accommodate ourselves in a very small car. It was my birthday, terrible. So I was crying all day because I really didn't want to leave. I had a lot of friends, and I was born there, although I had roots in Afghanistan, but I thought that like someone stole all my hopes and dreams and friends, and I have to now leave to a place that I've never seen in my whole life. The only thing I saw is in the news, which is not nice, and the pictures in my parents' photo album. So the whole day and the whole way I was crying and not sure what will happen. So when we arrived to the border in Iran and Afghanistan, we had to show our IDs, and that was the first moment for me to see the picture of Afghanistan. We get off of the car, and it was a big dusty land and a lot of winds blowing, no sign of green. There was just a big line of people standing to pass the border. So that was the Afghanistan that welcomed me. When I put my foot, I really felt great. I thought, wow, this is the land that I belong to. Now no one going to discriminate me because saying, oh, you're a refugee, you're like this, and everyone's the same. We're all Afghans. So I was very happy, and I felt so good about that. We took another car to drive to the city. So the way was very bumpy. It was unpaved, so it took like 7 hours something to get to the city. It was getting dark, and I remember I looked at my dad and I said that, so when we are getting close to the city? And my dad was like, well, excuse me, you're like in the middle of the city, by the way. I'm like, what? This is like a dark city, and nothing is happening. And there were only old lanterns outside of the shops, and I was like, wow, so like that's Afghanistan, and that's my city. So, of course, growing up in Iran, the infrastructure were better. In our place that we had, for the first time, I had to take water from well. So we didn't have healthy water pipeline. And we only had 3 hours electricity at night. So we had to do everything we could using that electricity time. Forget about internet or phones and things like that. Very, very basic infrastructure. So that was what I welcomed, and I wanted to do something. So beside all the obstacles, I was able to go and get my bachelor in computer science in Herat University. And later I performed well, so I went to Germany. I got my master's in computer science in Technical University of Berlin, went back to Afghanistan and taught as a computer science professor. So when I saw that, when I was a student, I was very vocal, I was very social, and I had a little bit of a good English, so I could be recognized better. And our teachers were foreigners, so they were always looking for someone to translate the lessons to other students. So one thing that I remember for my first class to teach Java programming as a tutor, I was expected to have about 200 people to show up in the class. But less than 10 people showed up in my class. Not really a good start. But the reason was that a lot of them were girls. The boys were like, oh, like how come we go to this class and learn from a girl? Like Java programming and she can teach us? So that was their mindset. They didn't want to come to my class because I was a girl or a female mentor. So days passed, and then I saw that the class is getting more packed. Now we have like a full class of 120 students. And, well, I guess first of all, they recognize if they don't participate in my class, they're gonna fail Java programming. So they had to come anyway. But besides that, I really try to engage everyone and include everyone and have more creativity and conversation. And that time be a symbol and a role model for other female classmates that I had, that like you should push for that and you shouldn't be afraid. Because I face a lot of threats. I face a lot of death threats, a lot of threats from the colleagues community, which all were against what I was doing and pushing for. But it never stopped me. And when I went back to Afghanistan as a professor, I saw that, well, nothing has changed. Like, that's the same situation and challenge that when I was a student, my students are facing. So, like, there should be someone to do something and change this. And that was the time for me to think about how I can use the privilege I had to go to Germany and study and give it back to Afghanistan and my community. So, I promised that like this is the last slide that it's going to be terrible about Afghanistan and sad. So I guess like the world presents this number to you all always, and these are true numbers. Afghanistan definitely considered as the most dangerous place for women in the world because of a lot of extremists and the presence of the Taliban in certain places, which they burn schools for girls and they don't allow the women to go to school. And of course, you see that 44% of school-age Afghans are not going to school, and girls make up 60% of them. And in some places, it's even more, especially the places that face with conflicts and war, and there's the presence of Taliban is more, and there's more restricted. 1 in 8 of Afghan girls is married before the age of 16. So you can imagine of a teenage girl marry in that age, and it will stop the way for her to continue her education and invest in her future. There's certainly travel and social restrictions, again, because of the presence of the Taliban in certain part. Of course, your family won't allow you to travel alone by yourself unless you have a male companion, and it makes it difficult for you to leave your hometown. So you're kind of like stuck in your hometown. A lack of safe learning environment. When I was a student, there wasn't enough place for me to hang out with my female colleagues and do social works, except inside the university, even inside, we didn't have a safe place for ourselves to do so. So that certainly prevents you from doing a lot of social activities as women. Cultural stereotypes. Afghanistan is a very male-dominated culture, very traditional still, so they think that, of course, you have to invest on boys because the boys are breadwinners and the girl's going to get married and walk away. And of course, patriarchal society, early forced marriages. So these are all the bad and terrible numbers that we still face in Afghanistan, and we were thinking how to improve that. But there's a lot of good numbers that I'm sure not a lot of you know about that, and not the media show that. So during the Taliban regime, during the Taliban regime, there were about 1 million students going to school in a country with a population of 23 million. Out of that 1 million, they were all boys and men with zero female participation in a school and workplace. So can you imagine excluding half of the society not being socially active during that time? But after the fall of Taliban, within the 17 years, with the support of a lot of international community, 7 million students are going to school now, which out of that, 2.5 million of them are girls. And that number is actually increasing because there is now more infrastructure in bigger cities, and there's more facilities, and also like in the suburbs, the government tries to support that. Some even better numbers is that 90% of residential areas in Afghanistan have access to telecommunication. So we do have phone in Afghanistan, and we call each other. 23 million people have phone out of the 37 million population now, which is a big number. So a lot of things happens on phone and mobiles. Women participation in the workforce increased 19%. 6.4 internet users out of 100 people still. So it's not a big number, but still there's a lot of the young population are online and use internet. And also one of the amazing thing is that 10% or $200 million of Afghanistan revenue coming from the tech sector. So tech sector is a very young sector in Afghanistan, but still there's a lot of potential for that to grow. So why I wanted to establish Code to Inspire. So for that, I would like to first show you a video so you have a better picture of the school and you see some beautiful faces of the girls in Afghanistan. This. Oh. Can you hear the voice? Just like unplug it and plug it. Sorry, technical problems. Okay. Oh, awesome. Perfect. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Azita Azmi. I'm a mentor at Inspire Coding Simulator in Herat, Afghanistan. And this is the building that we teach the girls coding.
So with Code to Inspire, the organization that I founded, it's the first computer coding school for girls in Afghanistan. I was thinking about what should I do that change the lives of these young women in Afghanistan, but also help them to be financially in a better situation and be independent so that they can have a voice for themselves. And that was the reason that I was thinking technology. If you have a computer and internet, you can connect to the rest of the world without being worried of any geographical boundaries. You're just a digital citizen of the world, and you can talk to a lot of people, and you actually can make money being online with your skills. So that was the reason that inspired me to do that. I registered Code to Inspire in January 2015 with the Indiegogo fundraisers that our initial goal was to raise $20,000. We raised $21,000. And we received 20 laptops in-kind donations from Overstock. We were able to open the first computer coding school for girls in Afghanistan November 2015. Really, the idea was three things. First, provide a safe and secure educational environment for all these young women so that they wouldn't be afraid of any verbal sexual harassments that they will face outside of their house and the places that they go. Second, we provide the school for free, so we don't charge students because a lot of students come from a very challenging financial backgrounds that they can afford for extracurricular activities. The third, which is the most important pillar, is what to teach them. What are those skills that they can find employment for them? And the employment opportunity can be doing remote work, so that within that and using our school, they can do the work. So for that, we have different classes. We have classes in mobile application, Android, iOS, game design, we use Unity, graphic design, web development, and we recently started also a blockchain cryptocurrency class with our students. So we really try to teach these skills that they can help themselves, and we help them to find employment. When we started the school in 2015, it's a 2-year after-school program, and we have only one location right now in Herat with 5 mentors. We had 100 applicants, and we accepted the top 50 of them. The next cohort, we had about 120 applicants, and we accepted the top 80 of them. The third cohort, we had about 200 applicants, and we accepted top 100 of them. And right now, we are offering a graphic design class, which the applicants are more than 250. We don't have enough space. We would love to have them. So there's a lot of growth and demands within the community, especially awareness of what technology can help these girls and young ladies to do that. So as you can see, these are our numbers. We've served 150 students so far, and then some are growing up. We just got the 80 new students, again, for as of January 2019, plus this new graphic design class. We had 50 graduates from our school last year in different classes. We've done a lot of social impact games and mobile apps that are going to give you some picture and perspective about that. But the most important part is the paid project part in Afghanistan that we have done. And no one has accomplished or done something like that, especially with women, because we wanted them to be independent and also make money. So we've had a lot of clients from here, and we outsource this project for them, and a lot of girls get paid with the least amount of $50 to the most amount of $400, $500. And we are talking about women and the girls that they've never touched the computer, they've never been online, they never had phone, even basic phone. They never had a computer at home. Now they're getting paid $300, $400, which they make actually double or triple than the male family member. Because Afghanistan average salary is $150 per month. So now this girl make how much? $300, $400. And now she has a voice in the family. She can say, I can decide what's going to happen in this family. I don't want to be a subject of forced marriage, because the family see a value in her and the things that she's learning. I give you some example. We had one student who came to our coding school when she was 10th grade. We had the web development class for high school students. So when she was 10th grade, we interviewed her and we asked, why you want to come to our school? Like, what's your goal? She was like, I want to make money. I was like, that's a great goal. That's awesome. She wanted to get out of here to make money. So she came to the school, and she came from a very, very underprivileged background and family, that even the family couldn't afford to pay a couple of cents for her commute, and we sponsored her. She didn't have laptop. We rented a laptop to her to take home and work on the exercises and stay and helped her with that. And she was also a subject of a forced marriage, with thank God, and hopefully it didn't happen, because we helped her to stand on her feet and support the family. So she was performing amazing, like a 16 years old, a girl come with no knowledge and no English, and now she's just learning web development. So when she graduated from our school, she graduated from high school too, at the 12th grade. And one day she texted me on Facebook, messaged me, and she was like, you can't believe if I tell you something. And I was like, what's happening? And she said that I found a job. I convinced the company that I can create a website for you, and they're gonna pay me $200. And I'm like, wow, like, you're such a badass. Like, you're like, you know, a 12th grader. You go and convince the company, which certainly are men in Afghanistan, and tell them, I want to make a website for you and help your business to grow. And they give you $200. I mean, like, that's amazing. And she was just crying, and she was like jumping, and she was like talking to me. I was like, I can't believe that this happened to me. And she called me, you're my lucky coin, which I don't think that, but like, it's just a matter of providing equal resources and opportunity. We didn't do magic. We just like found the people and that who were passionate and just gave them a platform and a voice. We had one other student also that when she was a kid, she used to play games a lot with the siblings and especially with brothers and on paper. So she wanted to come to our game design class. And we asked her, like, why you want to come to our game design class? What's your goal? What do you want to achieve? And she was like, well, I used to play this game with my brother when I was a kid, and then she showed us that paper and she drew that. I was like, I want to create that game on the phone and I want to play with them. So that's my goal that I want. I was like, amazing, that's a great goal. So she came to our class after a couple of months learning the basic of game design. She took it as her project and she worked on that. And then she created that game. And then we talked to her and she was like, okay, so what was the reaction of the family? And she was like, well, I went to the home and I told my parents, well, I made a game and I showed the phone and I played with my brother that we used to play that game on the phone. And they were all surprised and shocked. And the face was that they couldn't believe that the girl of the family is able to do something, that the boy of the family is not being able to do that. So like, this is amazing to see that grassroots change in a community that they think boys are able to do everything and the girls are not good for technical or engineering. And we also like a lot of amazing stories of one of our students who participated in our mobile application class. After she graduated, she just found a job in Iraq as a software company, and they hired her, and now she works full-time for that company remotely. And we had also a group of our graduates who wanted to be an entrepreneur and create their own company in a startup, and they actually raised a decent amount of seed fund, and now they have that company and working in Herat and helping other companies. So these are a lot of amazing stories that, like, you have tons of them, but these are some of them that we see how it changed the lives of the girls. So we have done a lot of passion projects, a lot. So if you check our Google Play Store and iTunes, and we have also Itch for the games, you can see all the projects that our students have done. Because what we wanted to do, we wanted to give back to the community, and by playing game, having fun, raise awareness, but educate people. So one of these passion projects called Afghan Backpack was that the mobile app students say that, well, when we talk about Afghanistan, always people think it's a terrible country, it's a war zone. We want to show other face of Afghanistan to people in the world. So we want to create this app for tourism. So if anyone wants to visit Afghanistan, they can go and see. So this is the first app for tourism in Afghanistan and coded by women in Afghanistan. And called Afghan Backpack. So it features now, it's in the second phase of development, features 4 main cities in Afghanistan. You can visit, you can book restaurants, hotels, flights, and local services that you have, sightseeing places. And we are in a conversation with Ministry of Information Culture to be our partners so that we can expand the app, add more cities, but also promote it as well to other people. So with our gaming class, we've done a lot of other passion projects. That's a picture I love a lot. Was recently in one of the IT exhibitions, which I'll show a video as well. So with the game, certainly a very new industry for Afghanistan. There's no gaming company, there's no gaming festivals, nothing. And all of these students who came to our school were just passionate about gaming and they wanted to make something. So we've done a lot of passion projects, but one of the particular one that really made a lot of noise within Afghanistan, got very viral and outside, was the game of the Afghan hero girl game. So the purpose of this game was that I had a conversation with our students and we were thinking about what would be the next passion project. And they were like, well, we're kind of like tired of like playing all this game that the men are superhero, there's no diversity, there's no representation, I don't feel that like they resonate. So like, how about we create a game that resonates to us and other women in Afghanistan and teenage girls? So they were like, well, the main character gonna be a girl from Afghanistan wearing traditional outfit, and she's gonna like go through different stages, fight with different enemies and achieve a goal. And that's actually show our real life, that we fight with the challenges we have and we get to the goal we want. I was like, amazing, I love the idea. And they really tried, as you see the background, they tried to use the architects of the Timurid era in Herat, which was the most successful era of knowledge in Afghanistan. So the buildings and everything in this game kind of like resonate that era and time in Afghanistan. So funny thing is that when we started, a lot of people on our Facebook page commenting like, oh, girls gaming? I think they should go to the kitchen and wash the dishes and they're gonna get married and make babies. So that was like the heartwarming comments that we received from the community, which like, okay, I think time is a good element of showing and proving something. So so over the time, we kept our work, we focused, we never discouraged. And when this game came out, a lot of those people, because I took a screenshot of those comments, and I have it in a folder. I call it haters, and unbelievable. I call it haters, and once in a while, when I feel upset, I look at that folder and I laugh. I'm like, amazing. These people hate us so much that it gives me positive energy to do what I want to do. Thank you so much, haters. So I know exactly who is that person. I'm like, I'm gonna come after you one day. I have that folder, and then so we launched it, and we see all these people comment, and I see those people, the ones that they said that stuff, and they're like, oh, that's a nice game, but can you make the character like this? I played that part. I had a problem jumping from that side to another side. Or like, do you think if you just do this? I'm like, oh wow, amazing. Now you're commenting and asking us to make some changes. It's amazing. So really this game showed these 4 years of the work we have done with all these naysayers of what does that mean to work as a grassroots and work on the community. We had more than 1,000 downloads on Google Play Store, a couple of hundred comments. And a lot of comments are coming from men, and all of them are just like encouraging. They're like very happy. They just give constructive feedback. They tell like, please add more levels. And it was like, for me, it was like so shocking. And I was so happy because I see the shift from the people who told us, go to the kitchen, wash the dishes, now to playing our game and telling us, can you add more levels to this game? So that's certainly what's the transition we were talking about. And the other group of our students with the design, we also try to transform and encourage people with our arts and design. So when I was using all these messaging apps like Viber, WhatsApp, Telegram, and any other, even the Facebook, I saw that there's also lack of representation again. There are stickers or emojis from Iran with the Persian accent, but there's not from Afghanistan. There are a lot of Arabic stickers that I use when like it's Eid time and I want to congratulate Eid, I use them. Or when like there's like certain occasions, I use those stickers. But then we were thinking, okay, how we can change that. So we teamed up with our students. They sketched all these things, and all of them represent different dialects in Afghanistan. Afghanistan is very tribal. There are 9 major tribes that we used to use their language, but also their outfit. So like this first one that say Manana Garana, that girl, she's from Pashtun, and she's saying thank you very much. And of course, at the top, you know that green eye Afghan on the National Geographic. So we use her, Sharbat Go. So we use her as well. So we try to use the symbols and the things that resonate to people. We use that, we talk to Viber, and they accept it and they help us. So now we have these stickers on Vibers, WhatsApp, and Telegram. And we try to also like have them more in other platforms. So now I'm just going to show you another quick video of our students and that exhibition, so you can see how does an IT exhibition looks like in Afghanistan, but also like the feedback of people.
ما داخل کشور زندگی می‌کنیم در بعضی جاهای افغانستان زندگی داخل افغانستان خطرناک است با بعضی وقتا انسان‌ها ناامید میشن، ولی خب بعضی اتفاقا رو آدم می‌بینه مثل اتفاقی که امروز می‌دیدم امید دوباره به کشور برمی‌گردم. خیلی خوشحالم که اتفاق
We played the game that the Afghan girls made, and it was really nice and entertaining.
It was amazing. Never thought Afghan girls would develop such games.
من خیلی خوشحالم که دختران کشور ما به اون حدی از تکنولوژی رسیدن که الان میتونن گیم درست کنن، در حالی که چند سال پیش حتی تحصیلات ابتدایی و دانشگاه نمیتونستن ادامه بدن.
So that was like a small video of seeing how people really engage with us and we see the grassroots level. So this picture always like gives me heart, like a warm feelings in my heart, because there's of course a VR headset, which is pretty new, and you're talking about Afghanistan. So to me, as a refugee born, I always try to use the best out of what I can and out of what I have. So I know the value of knowledge. Knowledge is power, and technology is the tool for this empowerment. That's what I've learned when I started learning how to code. I fell in love with coding because I loved its creativity. I loved its way. It's like puzzle. You solve a problem, but also ownership. You create something that you own it. And that's a very fulfilling feelings for you to do that. Something that we've never experienced in Afghanistan. Ownership. Own something that you have it. So it's been actually 7 years that I'm here in the US. I live in Brooklyn in New York. And yes, there's like a Brooklyn neighbor here. So when I came to this country, I was told that there is an American dream here. It's a land of opportunity. You come, you work hard, you achieve what you want. And for me, I always kept my Afghan dream with myself. I appreciated all the opportunities, all the grateful of greatness and the things that this country or the city particularly provided for me. And I wanted to give back to my country. So a refugee who was deprived accessing education, going to school, with my only laptop in my Brooklyn apartment, I was able to raise funds and build the first computer coding school for girls in Afghanistan. Give a voice for the girls that who are underprivileged. I showed that change is possible, and you necessarily shouldn't be somewhere physically in person to make the change. Well, thanks to the immigration system in this country, I wasn't able to go back to Afghanistan for 7 years, because if I go back, I can't come back, and I will be a subject of deportation. So I did everything online, from raising funds, shipping the equipments, finding the students, finding the mentors, creating the curriculum. And I'm very grateful of technology, because that actually helps me to give back to my country, even though I'm not able to be there or help the people in my country physically be there. So if you see it, this saying said, where there is ruin, there is hope for great treasure. It's said by Rumi. It's a 13th century Persian poet, who is like my poet crush. I love him so much. When I get upset, I just like go and pick one thing, and it delights my day. But this particular one always stays with me because it talks about Afghanistan a lot. It shows that the ruins you sow, but there's always a hope for finding a treasure. And for me, that ruins and the country is Afghanistan. And that treasures are the girls in Afghanistan that we invest on their education to have a voice and to be independent. So I always say that from the shattered lives of refugees and ruined nation can come treasure if we know where to find it. And for me, that's Afghanistan 2.0 that I'm building. Thank you. Thank you so much.